What is a fun fact that is mildly disturbing? Some snails, and flatworms, can be both male and female before mating. They have spiked protrusions and stab at each other, and whoever gets stabbed the deepest carries the kids. It's called penis jousting. Also penis fencing. I made a card game based off of this in college for my game design class. Presenting my idea to the class made me realize how awkward and weird the whole thing must have sounded to a normal person, but I was too deep into the project, so I had to stick to it and finish my project. On the bright side, I now have a fully playable card game I designed around snail penis jousting. Bunnies actually have the ability to scream, but they will only scream if they feel they are about to die. Humans taste like pork and our diets influence it heavily. Bonus, Americans aren't a popular option because we taste too salty for most. If you win it big in the lottery, you have a higher chance of both getting murdered and committing suicide. At some point the punishment for attempted suicide was death. There's a condition in which people become blind, but deny their blindness. The brain creates false perceptions to fill in for the lack of sight. Meerkats are adorable creatures. They even started in a show called Meerkat Manor. But they are, by far, the most murderous species of any animal, killing more of their own species with greater frequency than any other animal. I was at a zoo a while back and they actually described them as piranhas of the desert. Pornhub is owned by MindGeek, a Canadian company that owns virtually every major porn site. They own free, paid, and even sites that pirate porn videos from the paid sites. Because porn is such a lowly regulated industry, no one is going to get elected from "Hey, I'ma regulate the porn industry." MindGeek owns a monopoly on internet pornography. There are over 200 corpses on Mount Everest and they are used as waypoints for climbers. If Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin got stuck on the moon, the official policy was to cut communication and let them suffocate in silence. Nixon even had a speech prepared in case this happened. They were too at risk to qualify for life insurance, so they autographed memorabilia beforehand that their family could sell if they couldn't return. P.S. They also had to pass through customs when they returned. Humans produce enough saliva in their lifetime to fill 2 swimming pools. A lion's tongue is so rough it can lick your skin off. I learned this valuable piece of information from a toy in Arby's kids meal when I was younger. When you breathe through your nose, almost all of the air goes through only one of your nostrils. The nostrils trade back and forth over time. And everyone who read this is now breathing through their nose repeatedly, trying to figure this out. Male giraffes will headbutt a female in the bladder until she urinates, then it tastes the pee to helps it determine whether the female is ovulating. Brain aneurysms have little to no warning, headache, and are only diagnosable by CT scan. Roughly 1 in 50 people in the US have an unruptured brain aneurysm right now that could rupture at any time. A quarter of BA cases were misdiagnosed and 75% of those were no CT scans ordered by the doctor. Enjoy your next headache. The commonly cited fact we eat 8 spiders in our sleep a year, on average, was made up to prove a point about people passing on unconfirmed facts without trying to confirm them. This is mildly disturbing because we do not know how many spiders we are actually consuming in our sleep. In medieval times, diabetes was known as the honey sickness, and to test for it a physician would have to taste your urine. Tumors can grow teeth, hair, eyes and miniature versions of organs. Dermoid cyst. I had one on an ovary and it had hair and teeth. I told my sister I was going to ask for it in a jar and she'd be an aunt. Woodpecker's tongue wraps all the way around his skull. Interestingly, this effectively makes a woodpecker immune to concussions. So whack 'em in the head to your heart's content. The sea cucumber will disembowel itself when it feels threatened. It will projectile vomit its digestive system to scare off a predator, and the ejector is a delicacy in Japan called konowata. Male anglerfish breed by attaching itself to the bottom of the female and inserting all of its insides inside of her. There was a series of movies during the 1980s called the guinea pig films that were so gory that the director of the movies was actually investigated by the cops and had to show how he did the effects. If you have a boob job, the database for implants is so well kept and readily available across the country that they can identify your body based on the serial number of your implants. Chimpanzees just flat out love to eat monkeys. They love it so much they've feasted on certain breeds to local extinction. There was a Nazi general who was hanged in the Nuremberg trials and strangled to death for 17 minutes because the noose didn't break his neck. Jeffrey Dahmer used to give his neighbors sandwiches. A 14-year-old child escaped from Dahmer's apartment after being attacked, drugged, and raped. 2 women discovered him and called the police. The police, over the protests of the women, believed that he was Dahmer's boyfriend, returned him to Dahmer, and cracked homophobic jokes about reuniting the lovers. Dahmer murdered the boy later that night. Both officers were fired, but rehired on appeals, and one became president of the Milwaukee Police Association. Penguins will often work as prostitutes for other penguins to get stones for their nests. Certain psychological research suggests that couples are happiest before their kids are born and after they leave home. Octopuses have what is called decentralized intelligence, which essentially means that their limbs have their own intelligence. For example, if a severed human limb touches acid or fire or anything that would cause pain, nothing would happen. However, if an octopus limb touches acid or fire, it would recoil and avoid it, even though it's been severed and is no longer attached to the octopus. The board game Monopoly was created to teach people the dangers of unregulated capitalism. Correct. To expand on this, the original game called the Landlord's Game had 2 modes of playing, the capitalist version we all play and a Georgist version where undeveloped land was taxed and the public services were nationalized. The intent was that the losing parties would vote for the Georgist mode. What the author didn't foresee is how fucking fun it is to destroy everyone and be the absolute winner. As a last note, all the Parker brother did to sell the game was scraping the Georgist mode. The fact the players get money when they pass go is a remnant of the old version, since it's supposed to represent the idea of universal basic income. Christopher Mintz-Plass's mom had to be on set during the filming of his attempted sex scene in Superbad because he was only 17 at the time it was being filmed. I'll do you one better. Sophie Turner, who played Sansa Stark in GOT, bio parents are separated. The first time her dad ever visited her on set was the day they shot the Ramsay Bolton rape scene. We only have 3% of history recorded since humans reached behavioral modernity. The most common form of death for people with dwarfism is a brain aneurysm. Typically around the age of 40. I worry for Peter Dinklage. There is a clinical condition called body integrity identity disorder, BIID, where you only feel complete and healthy as a human, if one of your limbs is amputated. When a fly lands on your food it vomits on it to prepare to eat it. A brain surgeon told me that brain surgeons are normally not as well paid as you think. And anesthesiologists tend to be much more likely to be using prescription drugs. Plants evolved to be spicy so that animals wouldn't eat them. Only humans like spices. Imagine the plant, you finally evolve and have an incredible strength, but then you realize that strength is also your weakness. Your digestive system is an unbroken continuous tube from your mouth to anus. If you're over 30, every dog in the world was born during your lifetime.